Hey guys, it's Jan, also known as Zen Bluster, and we're gonna go ahead and start working on the hot shot. And not sure what I'm doing, but we're gonna figure it out. Looks like the manual isn't too hard to understand anyway. So looks like the kit comes with some bearings already. These are actually 1150s, is what they're calling it. It's basically the 11mm rollers that we're using in mini four-wheel drive, and I was able to scrounge up some more. You could actually get the full set of bearings that you need. It's item number 54002, but those are a little bit hard to find now. So I was able to get enough of the 11, what do you call it, 11mm rollers, and I'm cleaning them now, and I'm gonna re-oil them later with the VG grease that I have. I'll bring that up later once we do that. So yeah, right now I'm gonna break this apart and I'm gonna clean them, and I'm just gonna re-oil them because I think grease is just too much for the 850s that they have on the manual for the hot shot. They are the same shape also as the 850 rollers that come that you can also buy for mini four-wheel drive. So yeah, there you go. It's an exact swap. Back, so we're not really gonna use the 850 bushings. We're just gonna convert everything over to the Tamiya bearings right now. So, and there's this bearing. It's got like it's got an unusual shape. You could see the outside of it. So it's a little bit of an unusual thing. So I've never really encountered that before, but it's probably common for the RC side. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. I'm going to physically refer to the manual because you need to refer to the sizing over here just to make sure that you're using the correct part. So this is the assembly of the rear differential. We're doing a lot of re-oiling because I ended up cleaning the bearings in leather fluid to remove the grease, and then just re-oiling them with the VG bearing oil, and then just using a lot of the molybdenum grease for this assembly. The 1150s and the 850s are just being used right here, and most of the build is basically just all of that, cleaning up the bearings and then just re-oiling them. And then luckily I had a tube of the molybdenum grease that you could see over there by the laptop, and it's one of the things that the kit actually gives you, but I had my own tube, so I'm using that. And this is me installing the propeller joint right there. That is specifically for transferring power from the rear gearbox to the front gearbox, using the God hand tool for cutting all of these pieces and putting them together. This makes it easier. And then I actually wish I had my black fabric stuff already. It just makes it easier to organize everything and then assemble everything, because if I just had it organized, it would have been much quicker for me to actually put everything together. This is me just assembling some of the gears in there and putting them into the gearbox. And I'm about to show you how the differential spins. There you go. That's a spur gear, and then that's actually moving those other gears in there, and that's how the differential actually works. And if power is lost on one side, it actually moves it to the other side, and then that's how it can keep going. This is me sealing the gearbox, and sometimes you gotta use grease to actually screw in the self-tapping screws just to make sure that they don't crack it. It just makes it easier to install some of the screws. I'd installed the motor by then. I actually don't remember if I don't think I was able to film that. And this is now me installing the gearbox at the front. I ended up going with the 15 tooth pinion, right there. And this is more of the same kind of assembly from the rear. It's just a lot of re-oiling the bearings, and then in addition to that, um, putting on the molybdenum grease on the teeth of the gears. And that's me testing the, what do you call it, the propeller joint as well. And that's the receiving end of the power that comes from the rear gearbox, because the motor is attached to the rear gearbox, and it moves the power from that joint onto the propeller shaft, and then the propeller shaft, much like in mini four-wheel drives, transfer power from the back to the front of the chassis. Or if you're FM, it's backwards, but that's not what we're doing today. And yeah, I'm pretty much about to seal the gearbox right here. Um, the this is me also putting some more grease on the bearings just to make sure that the self-tapping screws don't actually crack it. And this is when I was double checking it, just making sure that the what do you call it, the gears were meshing correctly. I just didn't tighten them enough initially when I was putting them together. It seemed like it was a little bit loose and some of the gears were slipping. And it looked like it was okay after I'd tightened the gearbox a little bit more. Alright, so now this is the rear suspension assembly. Putting in the stabilizing rod right there. That's putting it together. And then working on the attachments for the stabilizing rod as well. And that's gonna be for the wheel hub right there, and then I'm just re-oiling the bearings again. That's gonna be installed on the wheel hub. If I recall correctly, those are 1150s, and then these are the suspension arms, the bottom side of the suspension arms. Now this is the hub being installed for the left and right drive shafts. So they're going to be for the rear. Now attaching the upper suspension arms as well. Yeah, and they pretty much tell you to put grease on a lot of things just to make sure. And you put some grease on the what do you call it, the actuating parts of the suspension. And that's me installing the drive shafts that move the power from the gearbox onto the hubs, and those are going to be later connected to the wheels and the tires as well. And this is me finishing up the rear. Now this is the front assembly for the upright hubs. Basically, this is where the front wheels are going to be attached, and they're going to be steering. This is the lower suspension arm assembly, and then of course the upper suspension arm is going to be attached as well. And I think this is where the what do you call it, the video cut out. I didn't really finish videoing it. The video had cut out and I didn't really notice it as I was building. So this is the assembly for the rear suspension crank. When the crank actuates, it moves both left and right, and that connects to. And I also didn't realize that I wasn't filming the attachment of the rear and the MS suspension, the center suspension assembly to also the front as well. And now I'm working on the what do you call it, the dampers as well, and putting some grease, not some grease, but some oil on the on the O-rings just to make sure that they don't leak. That helps prevent them from leaking oil. And this is me filling up the dampers with oil. You gotta pull the piston out and then fill it up until the upper meniscus of the oil reaches to the top edges of the cylinder. And then you gotta move the piston up and down until the bubbles like basically disappear. You could basically flick them if you wanna help move along that process. And then this is just me capping off and putting on the oil seal and then capping off the oil. And then there you go. This is me showing you the damper actuating. You press it in and then of course it should push back down, and that's how the oil filled dampers work, as you can see. And it's I was having trouble filming it because it was unfocusing. It was kind of annoying, but you can see that it's working. And then this is the additional damper assembly. This is attachments for the front and the back for the springs. You gotta go compress the springs and then put in the attachment on the other side so that you could make it adjustable. And this is installing the dampers to the front suspension assembly, and it's basically held on by E-clips. And this is me showing you the actuation of the front suspension. It's actually quite interesting the way this is designed and built. And this is me installing the this stabilizing rod for the front. And then I'm about to install the rear suspension as well. And on this one, it's locked down by screws, and then of course held down by E-clips as well. And this is me showing you how the actuation goes for the rear suspension. It's actually pretty interesting how this works. That's one of my favorite things about the Hotshot is the rear suspension. And this is me assembling the what do you call it? The servo rods, basically. And then this is where I install the catch for the battery. Later on, what you're gonna see is that the battery catch is going to be locked down by clips as well. And this is me securing the electronics box that's actually mounted from the underside, and you gotta screw it in from the top side to basically keep it in place. And then this is the front bumper assembly. It's attached by like 3 screws, but the bumper comes in like 2 pieces, so it's actually pretty okay. I ended up like when I when I installed it, it was actually quite easy. And then this is the canopy frame assembly. A lot of screws basically like connecting one side to the other side. And then this is me attaching the roof. Yeah, it needed to be installed with zip ties. Zip ties were needed to be cut off after that, so you could see I'd cut it off. And then this is me fitting the frame onto the chassis. And you gotta screw those in from the top, and then all along the side of the both sides of the car. You need to screw it down. And then let me see. This is the other side where the motor is. And I ended up installing the motor just to hold it in place. And then this is the FRP battery holder installed. This is me putting the tires in on the wheels. Yeah, this was actually quite annoying. Actually, the tires were super tight and it was a little bit tough to put in. And you gotta note that whenever you put
put in the tires, they're supposed to be in a specific direction. Like I'm pointing out, there's an arrow. It tells you which way the tires should be going. And I screwed that up and I ended up having to redo one of the tires. So this is, as you can see, installing the wheels and the tires, and this was actually probably my favorite step because it was pretty much done right here.
Alright guys, so the chassis is pretty much done. I just need to go buy the electrics. As you guys can see, the servo hasn't been installed yet. We don't have the servo yet, so I'm gonna be ordering some of that parts at some point. Still need to figure out what electrics I need to get. So yeah, as you can see, it's pretty interesting that that single springs it actually works. I'm surprised. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't have doubted Tamiya, but yeah, look at that. So the back, of course, is a little bit stiffer because there's a lot of armature like going on to the movement of the back right there. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then right here, let's check the balance. It's pretty good. It bottoms out. Maybe I can stiffen. Let me stiffen the front a little bit. There you go. Oh, now the back is, there you go. Pretty good. There you have it, guys. This is the build. And we're gonna go ahead on the next video. We're gonna be working with Black Fabrica. We're gonna be working on the electrics of this machine. We may need to go disassemble some of this part because basically it works like an MS chassis car for mini 4-wheel drive. The front and the back are kind of separate, and it's joined by the center chassis. So this is where all the electrics are gonna be, and I think we may need to go and figure out what else we need to do for this thing. All right, guys. Till next time. Go race.